What if the child the world knows as Lilibet Diana was never Meghan's daughter to begin with? Pause. Let that settle for a moment. Now imagine this. Just days before Thanksgiving, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry step out for what seems like an innocent public family outing. Hand in hand with their two children, Archie and Lilibet, they stroll through a quaint California farmer's market. Paparazzi lenses catch every angle. But something feels off. Something doesn't add up. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Look closely, really closely. The little girl holding Meghan's hand, she doesn't look 4, not even close. She looks 6, maybe older, taller than expected. Facial features sharper than the soft baby-faced cherub the world was introduced to in 2021. Her behavior? Strange, disconnected, guarded. And when someone from the crowd calls out Lilibet, she flinches. Not once does she call Meghan Mom. Is this just awkward body language? Or the unraveling of one of the most carefully controlled family narratives in recent celebrity history? Just hours later, another scene unfolds, quietly, without press coverage. Doria Ragland, Meghan's usually tight-lipped and fiercely loyal mother, is spotted leaving Meghan's Montecito property in what can only be described as a state of visible distress. No chauffeur, no aides. Just Doria, clutching a slim brown folder, eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses, jaw set, and walking briskly to a waiting car. Why does this matter? Because sources now claim that what Doria told someone that day, what she exposed, has the potential to completely implode Meghan and Harry's already fragile public image. It could unravel their royal titles, their brand deals, their Netflix dreams, and more devastatingly, their family. We're not just talking about scandal. We're talking about the possibility that the little girl who's been called Princess Lilibet Diana, whose name honors both Queen Elizabeth and Princess Diana, may not even be legally theirs. And that's just the beginning. Because what came next? What followed Doria's departure and the growing whispers around Lilibet's identity was a chain reaction of revelations so shocking, so surreal, and so emotionally volatile that even seasoned royal reporters were left speechless, silent, unsure how to process what they were being handed behind closed doors. The timing couldn't be more ironic. Thanksgiving, a time for family, for gratitude, for unity. But for Meghan and Harry, this Thanksgiving feels more like the calm before the storm. A festival of appearances, photo ops, and perfectly filtered smiles that mask a growing terror behind the scenes. Panic, damage control, betrayal. And through it all, the same questions echo. Who is Lilibet Diana, really? Why was the world told she was born in 2021 when every visual clue suggests otherwise? Why has her existence always been shrouded in mystery? From the lack of official christening photos to the oddly staged birthday parties and carefully timed press releases. Even the royal family, usually silent and stoic in the face of drama, appears to be watching closely now. Too closely. Insiders say King Charles has requested a private legal review of the line of succession. An unheard-of move at this point in time. So again, why now? Why this sudden avalanche of doubt? And why is Meghan Markle, usually so calculated, suddenly off her game, snapping at aides, ducking public engagements, and reportedly going radio silent in group chats with her inner circle? Could it be that she's afraid? That Doria, her own mother, the one person who's always stayed in her corner, may have finally turned against her? Now let's be very clear. This isn't about tearing down a child. Lilibet Diana, whoever she truly is an innocent party in all of this. But the story, the timeline, the paperwork, the way the Sussexes have handled her public image, that is where the scandal lives. That's where the inconsistencies lie. And that's where the truth might finally be clawing its way to the surface. Because truth has a funny way of leaking out. No matter how many PR statements you issue, no matter how many Instagram filters you slap over it, no matter how many NDAs you pay off, sooner or later, it finds the light. And maybe, just maybe, that light came in the form of a Thanksgiving morning market stroll that was never supposed to be noticed. A moment of public vulnerability. A crack in the armor. A misstep that exposed everything. Let's go back to that moment. Let's break it down. Picture this. It's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Crisp air. Locals out shopping for fresh cranberries and organic herbs. Meghan and Harry arrive casually, but not too casually. Coordinated wardrobe, subtle designer touches, security positioned in a diamond formation. Lilibet walks just one step behind Meghan. Not clinging, not skipping, not smiling. And then someone calls her name. Lilibet. No response. Another voice tries. A child from the crowd waves. Hi, Lilibet. Still nothing. Instead, the girl glances back at Harry with a confused look. Almost like she didn't realize she was being addressed. It was a moment so brief, most people missed it. But the ones who caught it? They knew. Something was off. The video surfaced online within an hour, and the comment section lit up. That's not a 4-year-old. She looks older than my 6-year-old cousin. Why doesn't she respond to her own name? Anyone else notice she's calling Meghan by her first name? Within hours, Reddit threads, Twitter/X posts, and Telegram groups were dissecting the footage frame by frame. Online sleuths began comparing Lilibet's appearance to archived photos of a foster child from Los Angeles named Ella, a girl who vanished from the public database under mysterious circumstances in 2019. And just like that, the spark was lit. Theories exploded. Dots were connected. Leaked documents emerged. And then came the bombshell no one saw coming. Doria Ragland, according to sources familiar with the situation, had been harboring a secret about Lilibet since before her alleged birth in 2021. A secret she could no longer keep. But why break her silence now? Some say guilt. Others say fear. A few believe Doria was threatened and is preemptively protecting herself. What's clear is that she knows something. Something huge. And she's no longer willing to lie about it. That's what makes this story so seismic. Because it's not just about Meghan anymore. It's about the people around her. The people who used to protect her, who are now, one by one, walking away, speaking out, or staying eerily silent. And the deeper you dig, the more chilling it becomes. Lilibet's name, chosen to honor Queen Elizabeth, now sits at the center of a whirlwind of doubt and controversy. The palace is reportedly scrambling. Meghan's publicist has issued no denials, no clarifications. Prince Harry, usually so vocal, has gone silent. The stage is set. And this Thanksgiving feels like the last calm before a historic media storm. What happens when a carefully constructed narrative begins to crack? What happens when the story you sold to the world starts to slip, revealing fragments of a truth that was never supposed to surface? We're about to find out. Because the real story didn't start at that farmer's market. It started long before. In an LA adoption agency. In a sealed foster file. In a quiet donation. In a diary entry from a terrified nanny. In an intercepted DNA test. In a whispered conversation between two exhausted royals who no longer know who to trust. And as all those threads come together, only one thing becomes clear. This isn't the family outing the Sussexes wanted you to see. This is the unraveling. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. They thought no one would notice. No reporters, no headlines, just another well-timed, organic appearance from the couple that turned royal PR into an art form. Meghan and Harry strolling through the Montecito farmers market like any regular family. Except, nothing about this outing was regular. And certainly not the little girl walking beside them. Let's rewind to the morning of November 27th, just before Thanksgiving. The sky over Montecito was bright, crisp, with that soft Californian glow that usually wraps the town in postcard perfection. Locals were out shopping early, picking up bunches of sage, fresh rosemary, and the kind of artisan pies that sell out by noon. But something unusual happened around 9:15 a.m. A small SUV with tinted windows pulls up along a side street, discreet, but not unnoticeable. Out steps Harry, followed closely by Meghan. They're dressed down, but make no mistake. This was no accidental wardrobe coordination. He's in khaki and navy. She's in oversized sunglasses, a structured tan coat, and a cream scarf. Behind them, two children follow. Archie, bouncing slightly, as most 5-year-olds do, and a little girl, quieter, stiffer, and surprisingly tall. That's where the questions began. Because when onlookers first spotted the family, they didn't immediately say, "Oh look, it's Harry and Meghan." No, the first reactions were more like, "Wait, is that their daughter? She's huge. She looks way older than 4. Are we sure that's Lilibet? Why isn't she walking with Meghan?" It didn't take long for the crowd to start whispering. The tall girl in the camel-colored trench coat wasn't smiling. She wasn't running ahead, asking for a cookie, or tugging at her father's hand. She was observant, quiet, almost detached. Now ask yourself, how would a 4-year-old typically act in a busy, colorful market? Overstimulated, curious, distracted by everything from fresh pastries to live music. But Lilibet? She kept a steady pace, never once skipped, twirled, or even giggled. She stayed behind Meghan, arms crossed for part of the walk, and never spoke unless prompted. And most notably, she didn't respond to her own name. This was the moment, the crack in the illusion. A woman pushing a stroller nearby called out, innocently enough, "Hi, Lilibet." She smiled, waved, clearly recognizing the child from online photos. But Lilibet didn't react, not even a blink. Another passerby, closer to Meghan's side, tried again, more assertive. "Happy Thanksgiving, Princess Lilibet." And that's when something telling happened. The little girl looked, briefly, but not at the woman. She looked at Harry, her brow furrowed. She mouthed something. Eyewitnesses say it looked like the word, "Why?" Why? Why was someone calling her that name? It was subtle, quick, but unmistakable. Meghan immediately tightened her grip on the girl's shoulder, gently nudging her along with a rehearsed smile. Harry, on the other hand, seemed to freeze, just for a second, before darting a glance at his security detail. Within moments, the team subtly repositioned, forming a looser perimeter and nudging the family toward the end of the market's walkway. This wasn't a normal exit. It was calculated, pre-planned, as if they were prepared for something to go wrong. But nothing had technically gone wrong. Or had it? Because what those bystanders witnessed that day wasn't scandalous in the tabloid sense. There were no arguments, no tears, no tripping over paparazzi. But what did happen was far more unsettling. The image of a little girl who appeared emotionally disconnected from the woman supposed to be her mother. A girl who didn't respond to her own name. A girl who looked older than she should be. Taller, more mature, less familiar. Here's where things take a sharp turn. Later that day, a video clip surfaced online. A short 15-second recording posted to TikTok by an unsuspecting market vendor who didn't even realize who they'd captured at first. It showed Harry and Meghan walking ahead, Archie skipping beside Harry, and Lilibet trailing behind Meghan. The caption was innocent. Some cute family out shopping. Kiddo looks tired. But internet sleuths identified the family within minutes, and the clip exploded. Within 3 hours, the comments had gone nuclear. That girl is not 4. She's the same height as Archie. She's got adult features. Are they hiding her real age? Did they adopt her? Theories erupted. Threads emerged on Reddit, TikTok, X, and YouTube. Facial analysis comparisons began. Parents of 4-year-olds started posting side-by-side photos. Pediatricians chimed in anonymously. One comment from a verified user claiming to be a pediatric nurse said, "That child has the gait and proportional height of a 6-year-old, possibly even 7. This isn't normal." But it wasn't just her height. It was her demeanor, her blank stares, her glances toward Harry for cues, instead of toward Meghan, her silence, the way she avoided eye contact with passers-by who addressed her. Everything about her screamed discomfort and unfamiliarity. So now ask yourself, is it possible the world has been misled about Lilibet Diana's identity? Because remember, her birth announcement was unlike any other royal birth. No hospital photos, no christening ceremony at Windsor, no official sightings in the UK. Just a statement released by Meghan and Harry's PR team, followed by a handful of carefully curated birthday shots taken by close friends or photographers under NDA. Every image, edited, staged, perfectly controlled. And now, finally, the public sees her unfiltered, and she looks nothing like the narrative. What's more chilling? People started digging. And it didn't take long before a now-deleted post on an old foster parenting forum resurfaced. A thread from 2019. A user had written, "We've just been told our foster girl Ella has been placed for private adoption. No details, just that a very high-profile family is involved. We had her for 9 months. She's 2. Beautiful child. This hurts." The timing lines up perfectly with Lilibet's supposed age, if she were actually 6. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces began falling into place. And while this was happening online, back in Montecito something else was brewing. Behind closed doors. In silence. That same afternoon, just hours after the footage went viral, Doria Ragland was spotted leaving Meghan's gated estate. No smile, no waves, no sunglasses this time. Just a blank stare. A look of resolve. Eyewitnesses said she looked like she'd been crying. Now here's the kicker. Doria didn't return that night. In fact, as far as anyone can confirm, Doria hasn't been seen at Meghan's home since. Was this a coincidence? A holiday scheduling conflict? Or had something serious just broken inside the Markle-Ragland alliance? Sources claim Doria was seen holding a small leather folder, slim, battered at the corners. Paparazzi images appear to confirm it. That folder, some now believe, contained documents, birth records, legal filings, perhaps even sealed court files. But why would Doria be carrying something like that? Unless she had just exposed something and wanted a paper trail to protect herself? It raises the question, is Meghan panicking because her own mother can no longer protect the lie? And if so, what does that say about how deep this deception truly runs? Because one thing's for sure, this was no ordinary outing. It was a turning point, a moment when the carefully constructed walls began to crack. The smiles couldn't cover the discomfort. The narrative couldn't mask the inconsistencies. And the public, finally, was watching with fresh eyes. But what if this wasn't the first time something like this had happened? What if clues had been leaking out for months, years even, and no one had been paying attention? Because one witness that day at the farmer's market wasn't a stranger. She was someone who had been there before. She had worked behind those gates. She had walked that same path. And what she saw that morning shattered every lie she had once been forced to tell. And what she did next would change everything. Have you ever watched someone walk away and known, instantly, that everything had just changed? That's how one insider described the moment Doria Ragland left Meghan and Harry's Montecito estate on the afternoon of the Thanksgiving outing. No waves, no warm smiles, no backward glance, just a tight grip on a worn leather folder and a determined walk to her car, alone. But this wasn't just a mother leaving her daughter's home after brunch. No, this was the moment the Markle mask began to slip. Because Doria wasn't just leaving the house. She was walking away from the story, the lie, the years of whispered complicity. And, if what followed is to be believed, she was about to expose the truth about Lilibet Diana. So why now? Why would Meghan's most loyal confidant, her mother, choose this moment to pull away? And more importantly, what exactly was in that folder? Because what happened next wasn't public. Not right away. It started as a rumor. A bizarre, easily dismissed whisper in LA's wellness circles. Then, a week later, it exploded into something far more sinister. After someone leaked a phone call. Yes, a phone call. Let's rewind. 3 hours after Doria left Meghan's property, she arrived at a small, secluded bungalow in Silver Lake. It wasn't her home, and it wasn't a friend's either. According to a security source familiar with the movement, it belonged to a former social worker turned legal advocate. Someone who once worked in the foster care system. What was Doria doing there? The timeline gets fuzzy here, deliberately so, but what's been pieced together is chilling. A brief conversation took place between Doria and this woman. Let's call her Angela. A single call was made from Angela's landline that night. A secure number not easily traced. But someone, somewhere, recorded it. And that audio, whether leaked by a whistleblower, a disgruntled insider, or something darker, has now been verified by 2 independent analysts. And on that call, Doria's voice is unmistakable. Quiet, uneasy, but firm. She can't keep pretending, Angela. Doria says at one point, her tone trembling. I've tried to protect her, but this has gone too far. That child isn't safe anymore. The silence that follows is deafening. Angela responds, if you're ready to talk, now's the time. Doria replies, I have the papers. I kept copies. I wasn't supposed to, but I did. She doesn't even know. Papers. Kept in secret. Without Meghan's knowledge. What kind of papers? Some believe they were sealed adoption records. Others think it was documentation tied to Lilibet's birth, or perhaps her real birth certificate, one that contradicts the public version filed in Santa Barbara County. And then came the line that sent chills through anyone who heard the leaked tape. If the truth comes out, she could lose everything. But maybe she should. That sentence alone shattered whatever was left of the illusion that Meghan's inner circle remained intact. Doria wasn't just distancing herself. She was positioning herself on the other side. But the real bombshell? That call, according to anonymous insiders, was intercepted by someone else entirely. A private surveillance group hired earlier this year by none other than King Charles's legal counsel. That's right. The palace had been watching, listening, waiting. And now, they had the voice of Meghan's own mother suggesting that Lilibet Diana might not even be legally hers. Let that sink in. For months, the royal family has remained relatively silent. But behind the scenes, they've been preparing, gathering evidence, reassessing succession plans, consulting constitutional experts. And Doria's call, this accidental leak, may have just confirmed what the firm has suspected for some time, that Lilibet's identity isn't just questionable, it's falsified. Now here's the twist. Just 24 hours after the call surfaced online, briefly, before it was yanked down by copyright and privacy violations, Meghan's team launched into overdrive. PR firms issued statements denying baseless conspiracy theories. Legal threats were made against tabloids and bloggers. One influencer claimed she received a cease and desist within 12 hours of reposting the transcript. But not once did Meghan, Harry, or Doria deny the authenticity of the call itself. Why? Because they couldn't. Because the voice was real. And because the contents were too damning to draw further attention. Let's go deeper. According to sources close to the former social worker Angela, Doria had been hinting at her growing discomfort for months. She had become increasingly isolated from Meghan's life, reduced to staged appearances, brief visits, and tight-lipped photo ops. At one point, Doria allegedly told a friend, "They don't let me be alone with the kids anymore." Not since last spring. Why not? Did Meghan and Harry fear that Doria might say something? Slip up? Reveal too much? Or were they just tightening the circle, fearing betrayal from even their closest ally? But Doria's silence didn't last. Something changed this Thanksgiving. Maybe it was the outing. Maybe it was the way Lilibet looked at Meghan. Maybe it was a whispered comment from Archie, who, according to one vendor at the market, was overheard saying, "She's not really our sister." Whatever the trigger, it was enough to break Doria's resolve. And here's where things spiral. Shortly after the leaked audio began making waves, Doria's lawyer, a man who rarely speaks to press, was seen entering a private building in downtown LA used exclusively for family court and sealed adoption hearings. He stayed for just under 2 hours. No statements were issued, no paperwork filed publicly, but insiders suggest a document exchange took place, a sealed deposition, possibly even a sworn statement from Doria herself. Which begs the question, is Doria preparing to testify? And if so, in what court? For what case? Because if Lilibet Diana was adopted, or worse, trafficked through a private arrangement, it could spark a legal scandal unlike anything the royal family has faced in modern history. It could destroy Meghan's reputation. It could trigger custody battles. And if proven, it could even open the door for criminal charges related to document forgery, misrepresentation, and fraud. Of course, Meghan's camp insists none of this is true. They call it misogynistic, racist, conspiratorial. But they can't seem to explain the inconsistencies, the shifting birth records, the lack of medical witnesses, the sealed files, the suspicious timing of donations to certain adoption clinics in California. And they definitely can't explain Doria's sudden silence. Because here's what's truly bizarre. Doria hasn't posted, hasn't been seen, hasn't issued a statement. For a woman who once attended Oprah's backyard brunches and smiled for every camera, she's vanished. Gone. Maybe she's hiding. Maybe she's being protected. Or maybe, just maybe, she's preparing for something big, something legal, something permanent. And Meghan knows it. Sources close to the Sussex inner circle say Meghan has been in crisis mode since the Thanksgiving outing. One aide reportedly described her as furious, paranoid, and completely unhinged. There are whispers that she's gone through multiple burner phones, that she's scrapped plans to travel, that she's quietly moved Lilibet and Archie to a new location for safety. But safety from what? From the press? From online speculation? Or from her own past catching up with her? Because here's the truth no PR statement can spin. The voice on that call was Doria's. And Doria knows more than anyone else about Lilibet's origin. She was there, at the beginning, in the rooms where it all started, at the clinics, with the lawyers. She saw everything. And now, she's ready to talk. The only question that remains is, will the world believe her? Or will Meghan manage to silence the truth one more time? Either way, the walls are closing in. The royal lawyers are circling, and the mystery of Lilibet Diana has finally reached the tipping point. But as shocking as the leaked call was, it wasn't the only thing Meghan couldn't control that week. Because the next person to speak out wasn't an adult, wasn't a lawyer, wasn't a whistleblower. It was a child. And what Archie Harrison said next would stop Meghan in her tracks. What's the easiest way to hide someone's real age? Simple. Just make sure their birthday never happens, at least not publicly. Every child deserves a birthday, especially children born into royalty. So why has Princess Lilibet Diana, supposedly born in June 2021, had not one, but two eerily quiet birthdays? No press photos, no official celebration, no friends gathered around a cake, no footage of Harry or Meghan carrying balloons, not even a blurry pap shot from a distance. For 2 years, her birthdays have existed only in press releases, sterile, vague statements crafted by PR teams with phrases like a private gathering with family or celebrated in a small, intimate setting. But this year, 2025, Lilibet's 4th birthday didn't happen at all. No mention, no tweet, no Instagram tribute, no tabloid whispers. It was as if the event had been scrubbed from the royal schedule entirely. And here's where things get strange. Because while Meghan and Harry claim Lilibet is 4 years old, she doesn't look 4. She doesn't talk like she's 4. And, according to eyewitnesses and child development experts, she sure as hell doesn't act like she's 4. So what's the real story here? Let's start with what the public has seen, or rather, what they haven't. In June 2022, Meghan's team released a single photo of Lilibet in the garden of their Frogmore Cottage estate, allegedly taken during her 1st birthday, while the Sussexes were in the UK for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. The photo was charming. A red-headed toddler with a cheeky smile and a sky-blue dress. But something felt off. Even then, several pediatricians pointed out that the child appeared too developed to be 12 months old. Her hair was thick, her cheeks more defined than typical for her age, her posture upright and balanced. And then there was her height. Standing unassisted, arms stretched at her sides, she appeared at least 2.5 feet tall, above the 90th percentile for girls that age. At the time, most people brushed off the observation. Genetics, they said. Maybe she just hit a growth spurt. But the questions didn't stop. Fast forward to June 2023. No photo, no party, no statement, just radio silence. And now, in 2025, we've reached a boiling point. Because the little girl who was spotted during the Thanksgiving outing doesn't look anywhere near 4 years old. And when compared to footage of her brother, Archie, at that age, the differences are undeniable. Let's go further. There's a term used in pediatric care, developmental congruence. It refers to the alignment of a child's physical appearance, emotional behavior, and cognitive responses to their expected age. And according to 2 former childcare professionals who've anonymously reviewed video footage of Lilibet's recent outing, she is developmentally closer to 6, possibly even 7. One of the experts, a retired pediatric occupational therapist, put it bluntly. That child walks like a 6-year-old. Her gait is steady, her stride is long, and her core balance is fully developed. No toddler stumbles. No looking around for parental cues. She walks with intention. But it's not just her walk. In one clip, Lilibet is seen interacting with a market vendor. The camera doesn't catch audio, but her gestures are clear. She points at a display of dried citrus ornaments, turns to Harry, and mouths several words with remarkable articulation. A lip reader later confirmed that she likely said, "These are the ones I saw last year, remember? Last year, at 3 years old. Is it possible? Yes. But paired with the other evidence, it points toward a disturbing conclusion. She remembers previous outings, clearly, cognitively, and her language skills are far beyond what's typical for a 4-year-old. Still not convinced? Let's look at the dental evidence. In June 2024, during a rare and brief appearance in a holiday-themed video montage on Meghan's now-defunct lifestyle blog, Lilibet was spotted grinning beside a decorated tree. In the frame, her smile was unmistakable, 2 central incisors missing, cleanly and evenly. Milk teeth gone. This may seem cute, harmless. But here's the issue. Children typically lose their front teeth between the ages of 5 and 7. It's extremely rare for a 4-year-old to lose both front incisors simultaneously unless there's trauma or a specific dental condition. Pediatric dentists who reviewed the footage agree. Those teeth fell naturally. That's a 6-year-old smile. And then, there's the paperwork, or lack thereof. Multiple journalists have tried to access public birth records filed in Santa Barbara County for June 4, 2021, the date Meghan and Harry claim Lilibet was born. What they found: a sealed document. Unlike most public birth certificates in California, which can be reviewed for basic information, Lilibet's record is blocked. Why? In some cases, sealing occurs in adoption or surrogacy situations to protect the identity of the biological mother. But Meghan has never stated that surrogacy was used. In fact, she's gone out of her way to imply that she gave birth naturally in California. So if Lilibet's paperwork is sealed, what are they hiding? One theory suggests that the name Lilibet Diana wasn't even on the original birth certificate, that she was born with a different name entirely, possibly Ella, Eleanor, or even Ava, and was only renamed after her legal guardianship changed. A retroactive rename. A reinvention. Let's bring this back to the present. Why hasn't Meghan posted a single photo of Lilibet's birthday celebrations since 2022? Not even a filtered Instagram story, which she was once known for. No balloons. No parties. Not even a cupcake. Contrast this with Archie's early years, lavish first birthday cakes, custom book readings by Oprah, and cake smash moments in garden scenes. But with Lilibet, there's only silence. Why the double standard? Unless they're avoiding scrutiny. Avoiding the need to produce a body that fits a timeline. Because the longer they stay silent, the harder it becomes to prove she's only 4. Every inch she grows, every new tooth she loses, every sentence she strings together threatens the illusion. And here's where it gets truly damning. An anonymous former nanny recently came forward, quietly, carefully, claiming that when she was hired briefly in 2023, she was told to never refer to Lilibet's age around guests. She was instructed to avoid birthday talk entirely, and to always defer to Meghan or Harry if Lilibet's age was brought up. Why would someone impose rules like that? Unless they were hiding something. Even within Meghan's inner circle, cracks have begun to show. One Hollywood stylist, who worked with Meghan on a promotional shoot earlier this year, set off the record. She kept slipping up, referring to Lily as turning 6 in one conversation, then correcting herself mid-sentence to say 4. It happened twice in front of me. It was awkward. Which leads us to the most devastating possibility of all. If Lilibet isn't 4, and if she wasn't born to Meghan in 2021, who is she? And where did she come from? Some believe she may have been adopted privately, perhaps from a foster system, perhaps from an overseas source. Others suspect a surrogacy gone awry, one where Meghan took over guardianship after the fact. But the most haunting theory? That Lilibet Diana is the same child who vanished from the California foster system under the name Ella M. in 2019, a case that was quickly closed with no explanation after a confidential placement. The ages match. The appearance matches. The timing aligns. And the silence? It's deafening. But before the public could fully digest the possibility of a hidden adoption, another voice entered the fray. And this time, it wasn't anonymous. It came from a child. Because during that very same Thanksgiving outing, when asked about his sister by a passerby, Archie turned to the stranger and said, without hesitation, "She's not really my sister." And that comment, innocent, raw, and completely unfiltered, ignited a media firestorm that not even Meghan's PR team could contain. But what came next wasn't just a slip of the tongue. It was the beginning of Archie's rebellion. And what he did that night would turn this mystery into a full-blown crisis. What if the little girl we call Lilibet Diana wasn't born into royalty, but into obscurity? What if, long before the world knew her as a princess, she was simply Ella, a quiet, curious child shuffled through the corridors of California's fractured foster care system? No royal blood, no palace, no photo shoots, just case numbers, temporary homes, and a name that was quietly erased. Sound too far-fetched? Then you haven't seen the file that was never meant to be found. Let's go back to early 2019, 2 years before Lilibet's alleged birth in June 2021. In Los Angeles County, a social worker posted anonymously on a private foster parenting forum. The post wasn't dramatic. It was heartbroken. A farewell message to a little girl the poster had grown attached to over 9 months. She wrote, "They took Ella today. No warning. Just a call this morning saying she'd been placed permanently. Sealed adoption. I'm not allowed to ask questions. But I'm gutted. She was too bright. Always humming. Her last word to me was, Birdie." A few replies trickled in. Sympathy. Confusion. Another user asked if Ella had been adopted through the state or via private agreement. The original poster responded, "Private. High profile. The kind where they make you sign silence papers." That post, buried deep in a 2019 thread, nearly forgotten, was recently uncovered by an online investigator following the Lilibet age theory. The screenshot has since been archived, but not before it caught the attention of former caseworkers, Reddit sleuths, and even an anonymous tech journalist who used geolocation data to trace the IP range of the original poster. The address? Somewhere near Santa Barbara. But let's pause. This could still be coincidence, right? Children disappear from foster registries all the time, some through legitimate adoption, others due to system errors, or in tragic cases worse. But this wasn't just any child, because another clue soon surfaced, a child support invoice filed with a local California family court in late 2020. The case was sealed, but the indexing number matched one used in high-profile adoption scenarios where identity protections are enforced. More curiously, the document lists the recipient as a trust associated with Archwell Foundation. Yes, that Archwell. A separate entry tied to the same case number indicates a one-time facility transfer fee. An unusual term unless it's being used to cover administrative costs for shifting custody from a state-run home to a private guardian. Now things start to feel less like coincidence and more like coordination. Let's dig deeper. According to a whistleblower working within a Southern California child welfare agency, a child by the name of Ella M. was temporarily placed in the Los Angeles foster system in the spring of 2018 after her biological mother, reportedly an undocumented immigrant, suffered a fatal overdose. No known father. No extended family willing to claim her. Ella was considered high risk for permanent placement. That is, until something changed. In early 2019, her file was marked withdrawn with a single line in the digital ledger. Transferred to private adoption agency. No contact order enforced. The agency? Never named. But archived logs show a flurry of background clearance checks in April 2019, including one entry for an international applicant listed under the alias M. Windsor. That's right, Windsor, the name historically linked to the British royal family. Now this could be a red herring, a hoax. But further investigation shows that shortly after that entry, a $175,000 donation was made to a California-based wellness and maternal health organization known for quiet placement facilitation for at-risk minors. That organization? One of the charities Meghan Markle publicly supported just months later. A member of the board, who requested anonymity, confirmed that a private arrangement involving a high-profile individual did in fact occur during that time, though they would not disclose the name of the child or the family involved. So let's review. A child named Ella, born in 2016 or 2017, disappears from the system in 2019, adopted under sealed court files, a name change, a complete identity reset, and then, 2 years later, Lilibet Diana is born. Same height, same eyes, same timeline. If you simply fast forward 2 years and erase everything before it. So ask yourself, did Meghan Markle and Prince Harry adopt this child and claim she was born to them? And if so, why? Why construct such an elaborate fiction? Why hide the adoption? Why pretend she was born in 2021? The answer may lie in branding. Because let's face it, Meghan and Harry needed a daughter. Not just any daughter. A daughter born of royal blood. A daughter they could name after the Queen and Princess Diana. A daughter they could present to the world as the new, modern face of royalty. A symbol of rebirth, healing, feminism, heritage. But an adopted child, especially one with no known royal ties, that's not a lineage. That's a liability. And for Meghan, whose public image has been carefully crafted to maximize both empathy and royalty-adjacent glamour, authenticity is everything, or at least the appearance of it. Because if Lilibet was truly adopted in 2019, that would mean she was at least 6 years old now, which matches the developmental cues observed during her recent outing. It also explains why her birthday has been mysteriously absent from public record, why she seems uncomfortable in public settings, why she's never seen interacting closely with Meghan in candid moments. And perhaps most chillingly, it explains why Doria Ragland might feel conflicted. Because if Doria was part of the early arrangement, if she helped bring Ella into the family, or even advised on the adoption, she would carry the weight of that deception. A lie buried under years of staged photos, press statements, and silence. And now, in 2025, with the lie crumbling under its own contradictions, she walks away. And maybe, just maybe, decides to tell the truth. But there's one more twist. An investigative journalist recently discovered a private Facebook group for former foster carers in the Southern California region. A user, new to the group, using an account named Only Birdie Jane, posted a cryptic message. She used to call me Mama Bird. I still hear her humming in my dreams. I saw her on TV last week. They call her Lilibet now, but she's still Ella to me. The post was deleted within an hour, but the screenshot exists. Ella, Birdie, a humming child, now called Lilibet. The name may be different. The home may be gilded. But if this is true, then everything we've been told about Meghan and Harry's daughter is a lie. Carefully constructed, legally obscured, and wrapped in a royal bow. And if this file ever becomes public, if the truth is confirmed, it won't just be a PR nightmare. It will be a full-blown identity scandal. The kind that doesn't just damage reputations, it dismantles them. But even as this possibility looms, there was someone who knew the truth all along. A small voice, a child's voice. And on the night of Thanksgiving, he spoke the words no one was prepared for. Archie Harrison looked at a camera and told the world a secret Meghan couldn't unhear. It wasn't supposed to be caught on camera. It wasn't even supposed to happen. Thanksgiving night was meant to be private, quiet, just family, a close circle, a few guests, a small catered dinner inside the Montecito mansion with everything planned down to the seating arrangements. No press, no outsiders, no chaos. But what happened in the hours after their now infamous farmers market outing was anything but controlled. And it started not with Meghan or Harry, but with a 5-year-old boy who wasn't supposed to understand the weight of secrets or the power of truth. Archie Harrison, the boy born into two worlds, the Crown and California, spoke 6 words that shattered everything Meghan had spent years protecting. She's not really my sister, though. Let's rewind. After the market outing that morning, Meghan and Harry were already on edge. Body language analysts who reviewed the footage said Harry's hands were clenched more than usual, and Meghan was seen whispering sharply to Archie multiple times. Sources close to the family claim Meghan was visibly frustrated with Archie during the drive home, reportedly telling him to keep his mouth shut around people. But Archie is 5. 5-year-olds don't understand PR. They don't do damage control. They speak their minds, and often, they repeat what they hear. And that night, he did exactly that. It started innocently enough. A guest, one of the few invited to the Sussex's intimate Thanksgiving dinner, brought along a small camera to capture candid moments for a private family video montage. Meghan reportedly approved this in advance. It was meant to be internal, a nostalgic little keepsake, a tradition borrowed from celebrity circles who document holidays for their own digital archives. At one point, the camera was set up on a side table to record children playing near the fireplace. The room was cozy. Archie and Lilibet sat side by side on the floor, surrounded by books and small toys. Other guests were milling about, drinks in hand. Harry stood near the kitchen, chatting. Meghan, missing from the shot. What no one expected was what came next. As the camera kept rolling, no one paying attention, Archie turned to the adult filming and, in a clear voice, said, "She's not really my sister, though." Pause. A beat. A laugh. Awkward. From someone nearby, probably thinking he was joking. But Archie wasn't smiling. He looked serious. He looked confused. "Mom says not to say it," he added. "But I heard Grandma say it. She said Lily's not ours for real." The room, according to one of the guests, fell into silence. A slow, stretching silence. Children say strange things. That's not new. But what Archie said wasn't gibberish. It was specific, sharp, and it matched rumors that were already swirling, rumors of sealed adoptions, altered timelines, and a child whose identity didn't quite add up. Within moments, Harry reportedly swooped in, scooped up Archie, and ushered him out of the room. Meghan followed a few minutes later, face flushed, fists tight, whispering furiously into her phone. The footage? Deleted. Or so they thought. But here's the thing about digital media. Even when you delete a clip from the camera, a backup often exists. Especially when cloud syncing is enabled. And someone in that house had enabled syncing. Within 72 hours, a heavily compressed version of the video, low resolution, shaky, but audible, surfaced on a locked Telegram channel known for posting controversial leaks. The video is only 13 seconds long, but that's all it took. Archie's voice is clear. She's not really my sister, though. Internet sleuths verified the setting, matching the fireplace in the video to old clips of the Sussex's Montecito home. One investigator cross-referenced the curtains, the rug, the lighting. It all matched. Now let's talk about intent. Was Archie lying? No. Was he repeating something he heard? Absolutely. And that's the point. Because for a child to internalize that his sister isn't really his sister, the message had to be repeated, reinforced, echoed within the home. Someone, possibly Doria, maybe even Harry, must have said it. And Archie picked it up, like children do, and filed it away until the moment it spilled out. Think about that. In a household built on secrecy, this little boy became the accidental whistleblower. The one person no PR team could anticipate. No lawyer could muzzle. No NDA could control. Meghan's panic was immediate. According to one source inside the Montecito estate, Meghan broke down after the guests left. She allegedly screamed at Harry, demanding to know who gave the child that poison. She accused Doria, accused staff, accused the nanny. But never, not once, did she ask, is he wrong? Because that's the question no one dares to ask out loud. Is he wrong? Because if he's not, everything implodes. The Sussex brand is built around the idea of a family wronged by a cold institution. Of two children, Archie and Lilibet, raised free from the toxic rigidity of palace life. Lilibet, in particular, is the crown jewel of this narrative. Named after the Queen, born in America, a symbol of legacy and independence. A little girl who was never allowed to meet her namesake, yet is said to carry her spirit. But what if that was all theater? What if Lilibet wasn't born into the legacy at all, but brought into it? And what does Archie really know? Reports from a former household staff member suggest this wasn't the first time Archie had made confusing statements. In 2024, during a Zoom call with distant relatives, he allegedly referred to Lilibet as the other girl. When corrected, he laughed and said, "That's what Mama used to call her when she came." When she came, not when she was born. And during a brief interaction with a staffer who wished Lilibet a happy birthday in June, Archie reportedly said, "It's not really her birthday. You can't make this up, because it's not just one comment. It's a pattern. A breadcrumb trail of childish confusion that only makes sense if the adults around him are hiding something big." And now, after Thanksgiving, it's out. The video was downloaded over 7,000 times before it was scrubbed. The Sussex team threatened legal action. Meghan's lawyer released a vague statement denouncing invasive recordings of minors. But the damage was done. The quote spread like wildfire across forums and alternative media channels. "She's not really my sister, though." It became a meme, a headline, a ticking time bomb, and Meghan knew it. In the days that followed, she reportedly held emergency meetings with PR advisors. Insiders say she instructed her legal team to contact platforms directly to suppress the video, citing child privacy rights. A team was tasked with monitoring social media mentions of Lilibet. Harry was said to be unusually withdrawn, spending long hours alone in his home office. But the biggest move came quietly. Lilibet was removed from all upcoming media plans. She was meant to be featured in Meghan's upcoming children's book launch. Gone. She was scheduled to appear in a Christmas charity video, seated on Meghan's lap. Cancelled. The official excuse? Scheduling conflicts and privacy priorities. But everyone watching knows the truth. Meghan is scrambling. She's losing control of the narrative. And now, with Archie speaking out, innocently, unknowingly, She's losing control of her own children. So what happens next? If Archie continues to question the story, will they silence him? Send him away? Rehearse new answers? And what will he grow up to remember? Because no matter how many times you delete a clip, once it's been heard, it can't be unheard. And the world heard him. She's not really my sister. But if Meghan is losing Archie and Lilibet's identity is unraveling, then who else is slipping through her fingers? There's one person who's stayed quiet until now. A woman who rocked the Amazon MGM set earlier this year with a bold confrontation. A woman who allegedly walked off mid-scene, saying she refused to co-sign a lie. And her name is Lily Collins. What happens when motherhood becomes a marketing strategy? When a baby isn't just a child, but a symbol, a headline, a product? For Meghan Markle, the birth of a daughter wasn't just a personal milestone. It was the ultimate brand play. A royal daughter. A girl born in America. A girl named after the Queen and Princess Diana. The perfect fusion of tradition and rebellion. Feminism and monarchy. Legacy and modernity. The story practically wrote itself. But stories, like brands, need to be believable. And as we now know, from Doria's mysterious folder, from Archie's damning slip, and from Lilibet's inconsistent public presence, this story doesn't hold up under scrutiny. So the question becomes, why did Meghan push so hard for a daughter? The answer is simple. Because in the world of celebrity influence, storytelling is power. And nothing sells better than the mother-daughter archetype. Let's break this down. Before Lilibet Diana was even born. On paper, at least, Meghan was laying the groundwork for a complete rebrand. After the fallout from her explosive Oprah interview, her deteriorating relationship with the royal family, and the collapse of multiple business deals, Meghan needed a narrative pivot. She needed to remind the world who she was, and who she could be. Enter the daughter. Soft, photogenic, symbolic. A blank canvas onto which Meghan could project everything the monarchy had denied her: validation, relevance, redemption. From the moment Lilibet's name was announced, Meghan's PR machine went into overdrive. They weren't just introducing a baby, they were launching a legacy. Think about it. Naming the child Lilibet was not a sweet tribute. It was a bold, controversial move. Lilibet was Queen Elizabeth's private nickname, used only by her closest family members. Harry didn't even ask the Queen for permission, despite palace sources stating that the name was not approved. It was, in essence, a branding hijack. Meghan wasn't just honoring the Queen. She was absorbing her. And pairing Lilibet with Diana? That sealed it. Two of the most powerful female names in royal history, now immortalized in the child of a woman who left the institution behind. It was calculated, strategic, and undeniably powerful, if you didn't look too closely. But here's where things start to unravel. Just weeks after Lilibet's supposed birth in 2021, Meghan filed a series of trademark applications in both the US and the UK. Among them, Lily D, covering everything from children's books to clothing lines. Princess Lilibet, filed through a Delaware-based LLC. Lilibet and Me, intended for a wellness podcast and mommy-daughter product line. These trademarks weren't passive. They were expansive. Meghan was clearly preparing to launch a multi-tiered lifestyle empire centered around her daughter. But there was one problem: the daughter herself. Or rather, the origin of that daughter. Because if Lilibet wasn't born to Meghan, if she was adopted or brought in through another arrangement, then all of those trademarks are built on a lie. A legal, ethical, and commercial minefield. Still, Meghan charged forward. In early 2022, she began quietly pitching a new content slate to Netflix, anchored around motherhood. Not just any motherhood, but raising a feminist daughter in a post-royal world. One proposed title: Born Royal, Raised Free. Let that sink in. The title implies that Lilibet was born royal. Not adopted. Not transferred. Born. It's marketing gold. And it's fiction. And this is where the industry began to turn on her. Because insiders, particularly those at Amazon MGM, who were working with Meghan on the satirical romantic comedy Close Personal Friends, began to notice cracks in the narrative. One assistant described a now infamous incident during pre-production meetings. Meghan kept referring to Lilibet as her mini-me, not once, dozens of times. And then one day, she snapped at a costume designer for suggesting an outfit that didn't fit Lilibet's personality. She shouted, "You don't know her like I do. She's not just some orphan child. She's mine. Every inch of her." The room went dead silent. The phrase, "not just some orphan child," lingered. It was the first time many on the set began to question Lilibet's story. And then came Lily Collins. The actress, cast as Meghan's rival in the Amazon comedy, was reportedly warm and professional at first. But sources say tensions began to mount during a table read, when Meghan repeatedly shifted the script's focus to include scenes about motherhood. One line in particular, written by Meghan herself, read, "A daughter is your second chance to rewrite your story." Lily Collins reportedly froze, looked directly at Meghan, and said, "Is that what this is to you? A rewrite?" The room fell into awkward silence. Later that day, Lily was seen walking off set, reportedly telling a crew member, "I'm not here to participate in someone's fantasy." She didn't return for 3 days, and when she did, her contract had been renegotiated, limiting her interactions with Meghan and removing several scenes involving mother-daughter parallels. But the damage was done, because word had spread, and whispers turned to rumors. And soon, producers were questioning everything. Especially after a junior staffer discovered Meghan had attempted to trademark Lilibet Studios through a third-party shell company only weeks before Lilibet's alleged birth. It wasn't just a child. It was an empire in the making. And now, that empire was beginning to crumble. Why? Because you can't build a brand on a false origin story, not when people start looking closer. And Meghan had made Lilibet too visible, too central, too symbolic. Now every timeline, every photo, every public statement was being dissected. And what they found? Discrepancies, inconsistencies. And then, the nail in the coffin. A whistleblower from Meghan's own legal team came forward anonymously, revealing that in 2020, more than a year before Lilibet's birth, draft contracts were drawn up for a children's book titled My Princess Lily, Born to Shine. The child's name? Lilibet. The branding? Complete. The marketing plan? Already in motion. The book was quietly shelved after questions arose about timing. But it proved one thing. The plan for a daughter existed long before the public was told she was born. And if the plan came before the baby, what does that say about the story? The image? The brand? Because Meghan didn't just need a daughter. She needed this daughter. The one named after royalty. The one who looked good on book covers. The one who could anchor a podcast, a docuseries, a movement. But in chasing the perfect image, she may have overreached. Because the truth? It always leaks. And when it does, it doesn't just ruin the campaign. It ruins the mother behind it. And Meghan knew it. That's why she fought so hard on that Amazon set. That's why she snapped at Lily Collins. That's why she allegedly threatened to walk off unless her scenes were rewritten. Because Lilibet wasn't just her daughter. She was the key to everything. The brand. The redemption arc. The proof that Meghan wasn't just a duchess-turned-content creator, but a queen of her own empire. But as the walls closed in and the questions mounted, there was one man who couldn't stay silent any longer. A man who had stood by Meghan through the Oprah backlash, the Spotify collapse, the royal drama. Jason Orley, the film's director. And he had a message for Meghan. A warning. And when she ignored it, he did something no one saw coming. If there was one place Meghan Markle believed she could control, it was a film set. A movie set is, after all, a manufactured world. Lights, scripts, marks on the floor. Everyone hits their cues. Everyone knows their role. And most importantly, everyone is under contract. But this wasn't Suits. This wasn't 2011. This was close personal friends. Amazon MGM's buzzy romantic satire co-produced by Meghan's own imprint and directed by Jason Orley, a respected industry name known for balancing comedy with emotional depth. The project had been pitched as a millennial When Frenemies Collide flick with bite, a hybrid of Bridesmaids, Notting Hill, and a hint of Veep. It was meant to be Meghan's Hollywood redemption arc. But what unfolded on that set wasn't just drama. It was implosion. And at the center of it all, Lily Collins. Let's start with the casting. Lily had been brought in to play a version of Meghan's fictional frenemy, an uptight PR executive with a secret vendetta. It was cheeky, irreverent, and subtly mirrored Meghan's own tabloid battles. Early table reads buzzed with excitement. The chemistry between Lily and Meghan was electric at first, on and off the page. But it didn't last. Because as rehearsals progressed, something became clear. Meghan wasn't acting. She was rewriting. Rewriting scenes. Rewriting history. Rewriting herself. It started subtly. Minor line changes. Emotional tweaks to her character's dialogue. But over time, entire scenes were reworked, always positioning Meghan's character as the victim, the misunderstood icon, the woman wronged. Lily, ever the professional, played along. At first, but things reached a boiling point during a scene dubbed the nursery monologue. In it, Lily's character confronts Meghan's over a fabricated pregnancy press leak, only to be silenced by a tearful speech about motherhood, legacy, and female resilience. Meghan's character says, "You think she was born to be used? She was born to rewrite everything they tried to destroy in me. My daughter saved me." Lily Collins blinked, paused, and then, very quietly, closed her script. "I'm sorry," she said, according to 3 crew members, "but I'm not going to deliver that line." Silence. Meghan looked up. "What do you mean?" Lily didn't flinch. "I mean, I'm not going to co-sign a lie. This isn't a script anymore. It's a rewrite of your personal myth." The words hit the air like a gunshot. Jason Orley, seated near the monitors, rubbed his temples. The crew exchanged nervous glances. And Meghan? She stared, stone-faced. Then, after what felt like a full minute of silence, she stood up, left the room, and didn't return for 2 hours. But that was just the beginning. Because the next day, Lily Collins didn't show up to set. She didn't call, didn't text. Her team issued a vague statement to producers citing creative differences and urgent scheduling conflicts. But insiders knew better. Lily had walked off, and she wasn't the only one thinking about it. The set had been tense for weeks. Meghan had reportedly banned certain staff